Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, introduced a concept that many people find unsettling: the shadow. The shadow represents the hidden, suppressed, and often darker aspects of our psyche, the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. But here's the hard truth: ignoring your shadow doesn't make it disappear. In fact, the more you suppress it, the more power it gains over you. Think about the moments when you've reacted irrationally, when anger, jealousy, or resentment overwhelmed you, and you couldn't understand why. That is your shadow at work. It exists beneath the surface, influencing your emotions, actions, and even your destiny. Jung believed that facing your shadow was not just important, it was necessary for true self-realization. What is the shadow? Jung described the shadow as the unconscious part of the personality that the conscious ego does not recognize in itself. It is everything we reject about ourselves, the thoughts, desires, and instincts that don't align with the image we want to present to the world. But the shadow is not just negative. It also contains hidden strengths, creativity, and untapped potential. Imagine a person who prides themselves on being kind and gentle. They might suppress their anger because it doesn't fit with their self-image. But that anger doesn't just disappear, it festers. It may come out in passive-aggressive behavior, self-sabotage, or even explosive outbursts when it can no longer be contained. The shadow is shaped by personal experiences, cultural expectations, and societal norms. As children, we learn which behaviors are acceptable and which are not. We then push the unacceptable aspects of ourselves into the unconscious. But these suppressed aspects do not simply vanish, they continue to influence us in ways we may not realize. For example, if a child is repeatedly told that showing vulnerability is weak, they may grow up suppressing their emotions, only to struggle with intimacy and connection in adulthood. The dangers of ignoring your shadow. When we refuse to acknowledge our shadow, we project it onto others. This means we see in others the very things we refuse to see in ourselves. Have you ever found yourself judging someone harshly, feeling an intense dislike for traits that, if you were honest with yourself, you might recognize in your own heart? That's projection. For example, a person who criticizes others for being arrogant may actually be repressing their own deep-seated arrogance. A person who despises liars may have a history of self-deception. The shadow influences how we see and interact with the world, often in ways we are completely unaware of. Left unchecked, the shadow can lead to destructive behaviors. Unacknowledged trauma can manifest as addictions, self-doubt can turn into self-sabotage, and suppressed anger can lead to outbursts that damage relationships. This is why Jung believed that integrating the shadow, making it conscious, is essential for personal growth. Unacknowledged shadows can also result in a divided self, where we struggle between our outward persona and our repressed inner world. This creates inner conflict, stress, and even mental health issues like anxiety and depression. The more we ignore our shadow, the more we distance ourselves from our true nature. How to face your shadow. The process of confronting the shadow is known as shadow work. It's not easy, but it is the path to wholeness. Here's how you can begin. Self-reflection and honesty. The first step is radical honesty with yourself. Ask yourself, what triggers me? What qualities in others do I despise? What emotions do I suppress? Your reactions to the world around you are often mirrors of the things you refuse to see in yourself. Journaling can be an effective way to uncover your shadow. Write about your most intense emotions and analyze them. Ask yourself, where does this feeling come from? What belief or past experience might be influencing it? Go deeper with each question, peeling back layers of conditioning and unconscious biases. Writing freely and revisiting old journal entries can reveal patterns in your thought processes over time. Observe your patterns. Your shadow manifests in patterns, repeated conflicts, recurring negative emotions, and self-sabotaging behaviors. If you always attract toxic relationships, struggle with procrastination, or feel deep resentment towards certain people, your shadow is at play. Observing these patterns without judgment is key. Meditation and mindfulness can help in this process. By practicing stillness, you allow unconscious thoughts to surface. This heightened awareness helps you identify when your shadow is influencing your behavior. Additionally, pay attention to body signals. Tension, gut feelings, or inexplicable discomfort often indicate repressed emotions trying to emerge. Own your darkness. Rather than rejecting your dark thoughts and emotions, acknowledge them. Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This means facing your fears, acknowledging your flaws, and accepting that you are not just light, you are also shadow. And that's okay. This doesn't mean acting on every dark impulse, but rather understanding its origin. By integrating these aspects, you prevent them from unconsciously controlling you. Shadow work is about self-acceptance, not self-condemnation. Recognizing your suppressed traits allows you to make conscious choices rather than being unconsciously driven by them. Express your shadow constructively. Rather than allowing your shadow to control you in unhealthy ways, find ways to channel it. If you suppress anger, find a healthy outlet like martial arts or intense exercise. If you suppress creativity, allow yourself to express it without fear of judgment. The key is integration, not suppression. For example, many artists and writers use creative outlets to explore their inner struggles. Shadow work doesn't have to be destructive. It can be transformative. Music, dance, poetry, and even humor can be powerful tools for expressing and integrating the shadow. Channeling your emotions into art provides a safe space for exploration without negative consequences. Inner dialogue. One of the most powerful techniques for shadow work is inner dialogue. This involves engaging with the aspects of yourself that you've ignored. Writing in a journal, speaking to yourself in meditation, or even visualizing a conversation with your shadow can bring unconscious aspects of your psyche into awareness. Ask your shadow, "What do you want from me? Why are you here? What lesson do you have to teach me?" Listen without judgment. You may be surprised by the insights you receive. Shadow work can also be done with a therapist or through practices like dream analysis. Jung believed that dreams provide valuable insights into the unconscious mind, often revealing aspects of the shadow that need to be addressed. Shadow work in relationships. Another important aspect of shadow work is recognizing how your shadow affects your relationships. Projection is a common defense mechanism where we see in others what we refuse to acknowledge in ourselves. If someone annoys or angers you irrationally, consider whether they reflect a hidden aspect of your own personality. Relationships act as mirrors, providing opportunities for deep self-reflection. Learning to recognize projections and take responsibility for your own emotions can lead to healthier, more authentic connections with others. Accept that shadow work is a lifelong process. Shadow work is not a one-time event, it is an ongoing journey. As you evolve, new aspects of your shadow will emerge, requiring continuous self-exploration. Rather than fearing this, embrace it as a path to deeper self-awareness and personal growth. The more you integrate your shadow, the more whole and balanced you become. You are not just light, and you are not just darkness. You are a complex, multifaceted being, and embracing all of yourself is the key to true transformation. The rewards of facing your shadow. When you embrace your shadow, something incredible happens. You gain a deeper understanding of yourself. You become less reactive, more in control, and more authentic. You stop seeking external validation because you've made peace with who you truly are. You unlock hidden strengths and talents that were buried beneath fear and shame. More importantly, you stop projecting your unresolved issues onto others. You begin to see people more clearly, not as mirrors of your own insecurities but as individuals with their own journeys. Your relationships improve, your self-worth strengthens, and you begin to operate from a place of wholeness rather than fragmentation. The path forward. The journey of facing your shadow is lifelong. It requires courage, patience, and self-compassion. There will be moments when you uncover things about yourself that you don't like, but remember, self-awareness is the first step toward transformation. The more you integrate your shadow, the more empowered you become. Now, the question is, are you ready to stop running from yourself and start facing your truth? The path of self-discovery is not easy, but it is the only way to truly live. If this message resonates with you, comment below, "I choose to awaken." And if you found value in this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Your true life begins when you stop looking outside and start looking within. Are you ready?